my channel. Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie and you're watching. Welcome to my Blackathon tag. Now, this tag is connected to the Blackathon readathon that I host every February and have done so for the last 3 years. But the good thing about this tag is you can do it at any point in the year. The questions are separated into genre, but you can totally just go with the genre that you feel the most comfortable in. The genres are just an added additional challenge for those of y'all who want to challenge yourself. The books that you select should be travel or journey themed whenever possible. But before I get into the tag, I have to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Book of the Month. Book of the Month is an e-commerce subscription that connects readers with the best and hottest books monthly. On the first of every month, members can choose from one of 5 books on the Book of the Month website. All of the books are hardcover new releases, and you can skip literally any month that you want to with absolutely no penalties. And your selection will always arrive in this nice blue box on your doorstep. Now, normally Book of the Month is $14.99, but if you use the code Blackathon, you can get your very first box for only $9.99. That is an absolute steal to get a hardcover new release book for $9.99. That is absolutely wonderful because y'all know how expensive hardcovers normally are. In celebration of Blackathon, I am partnering with Book of the Month to give away 2 6-month subscriptions to their service for 2 lucky viewers. So 2 of you will get to win a 6-month subscription to Book of the Month. And also I'm going to be giving away the books that I have in this box. I specifically asked Book of the Month for these titles because they are some of my favorite books or books that I've been dying to read. Entering the giveaway is simple. You just have to be based in the United States and subscribe to this channel. Leave your email address in a comment down below, and I will pick 2 of you to win a subscription. Without further ado, I'm going to show off the books that I have picked for y'all for this giveaway, and then we will hop into the tag. We have The Mothers by Britt Bennett, The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abi DeRay, The Girl Who Smiled Beads by Clementine Warmaria, The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi, and Queenie by Candace Carty Williams. And that is it, folks. Just make sure that you enter the giveaway on the date that this video goes live. I'm wishing y'all the best of luck with this giveaway, and thank you again to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video and for hosting this giveaway. Now let's get into the Blackathon questions. This tag has 9 questions, and the first one is Rita Woods, a book with a character that traverses the spirit realm. A book with a character that traverses the spirit realm or heavily embodies Black or Afro spiritualism. For this, I am selecting my favorite book of all time, which is Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. This is a semi-autobiographical story about an individual named Ada who is born in Nigeria and lives with gods inside of them. And when Ada moves to the United States, these separate selves crystallize into something more powerful and more dangerous. Now, this is from an Igbo non-binary author, and this book talks a lot about gender and identity and what it means to naturally inhabit these liminal spaces, to have a gender identity that is widely misunderstood. This book has some of the most poignant, amazing writing that I have ever read. It speaks directly to my soul. Ada is an amazing character, and everything that Akwaeke has written is just full of knowledge and power, and I highly, highly recommend this, especially the audiobook, which is read by the author themselves. The next question is Tade Thompson, a Black character encounters alien technology or an alien civilization. For this prompt, I am definitely going to go with Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. Now, I am in the middle, I'm like 75% of the way through Remote Control, and it is blowing my mind. The actress who narrates that book is doing the Lord's literal work. Books so rarely feel as vivid and brought to life as this one does. I love everything about this story from page 1 all the way up to the page that I'm at right now. And this is about a young girl named Sankofa who encounters this mysterious seed that seems to spark intense abilities in her and allows her to escort people to the realm of death. This is a science fiction story and it is freaking fantastic. It is amazing. And my understanding of the seed at this point in and of itself is that the seed is alien in technology. And so I think that this book counts perfectly for this prompt. Nettie also has a book called Lagoon, which is full of alien technology, but I haven't read that yet. Remote Control, however, is an amazing novella. Sankofa is already shaping up to become one of my favorite protagonists of all time. She leaps off of the page, even though it is a novella. She is smart and angry and ruthless, but she's also very kind and loving, and she only defends herself and kills when she has to defend her own self, or when somebody asks her to take her life. But also throughout the story, she's on a revenge mission to hunt down the men who destroyed her family. And I just love when you have a character on a revenge mission who also is a very good person at their heart, like somebody who isn't driven by hate, but rather a sense of wanting to morally balance the world while also getting her eye for an eye. But somebody who doesn't have constant bloodlust. I just think that that makes the character so much more complex. Question number 3 is Octavia Butler, a book where time travel is a major component to the story. Now, it is no surprise that the book that I'm going to be selecting is none other than The Space Between Worlds. This is a book that I read last year and it
destroyed my life
because it was so good. I will leave the reading vlog where I read this book linked down below. But wow, this book was everything that I could have wanted in a Black science fiction story and more. This book exceeded all of my expectations, and I had high expectations because so many of you were ranting and raving about it. This is a book about a girl named Kara. She has doppelgangers all over the universe, and when one of her doppelgangers dies, she finds that she's very mysteriously connected to this doppelganger and goes off on a mission in order to right some wrongs. And there's so much more to the synopsis than that, but I think that this is a book that is best suited to go into knowing as little as possible. It is very queer. It is very, very amazing world building. Some of the best world building I've ever seen from a standalone novel, although I'm praying for a sequel someday. It's non-binary inclusive. The character work is some of my favorite I've ever seen. Kara is one of my favorite protagonists of all time now as a result of reading this book. And also I love that the book is very sex worker friendly. Kara and her mother are both ex-sex workers, and I just thought the sex worker representation was phenomenal. Question number 4 is Maisy Card, a book that takes place over one character's lifespan or an intergenerational journey. And I could not answer this question without immediately thinking of the Gilda stories by Joel Gomez. I read this, I think it was in January or December. And when I tell you that this is one of my favorite books of all time, I truly mean it. This is a classic. It came out 25 years ago, and it is about a Black lesbian vampire. And it starts with her having escaped slavery in Louisiana in the 1850s, and she becomes a vampire and is taken under the wing of these queer vampires who have an oath about how to ethically draw blood. And I just absolutely loved the commentary about sexism, racism, slavery, queer theory. I thought it was amazing the differences between white vampires and Black vampires in this story. The commentary on how to be an ethical vampire also was directly parallel to racial liberation and racial struggle. And this is the second time that I have read a Black vampire story where the vampire magic is connected deeply to a sense of giving and taking. So what Gilda does is whenever she draws blood from someone, she also gives them positive memories or takes a negative memory away from them. So it is a mutually symbiotic relationship versus traditional vampirism, especially with white vampires. It is just you sucking the blood and not thinking about the life cycle and taking and not giving anything in return. White vampires have traditionally been imagined as parasites. And I find it very interesting that in actually 3 books written by Black people covering vampires, the vampire magic, the way that vampirism works in their lens is to give and to take and not just to exploit the victim. I just found it so fascinating. There's so much more that I can say about this book. This is a book that you will want to dissect and analyze and read Own Voices reviews, but you can also just read this at surface value. If you wanted to, I laughed, I came close to tears, I felt so close to these characters. I loved watching Gilda's evolution throughout the ages. I love that 2020 appears in this book. This book has some of the best social commentary and also made some crazy accurate predictions. You just have to read this book. Question number 5 is Patsy. 2 queer characters embark on a journey. Bonus points if this is a tangible journey, such as a road trip. Now, for this question, I have decided to select...
Oh my God, where is it?
I literally just had it.
Oh, there it is.
The Stars and the Blackness Between Them. This is a story about 2 girls, one who is from Trinidad and the other who is from Minneapolis, which I love because that is where I live. Both of them are queer, and the girl living in Trinidad is kicked out of her home when she is found kissing a girl from her church. And so she is sent to live with a relative in Minneapolis, and these 2 girls embark on a journey together of love and loss and Black joy and queerness, and they are falling for each other while also one of them is living with a debilitating illness. This book has so much joy and love and light and poetry and prose and amazing celebration of Black beauty, of queerness, of Black bodies, of plus-sized bodies. I loved everything about this book, although I think listening to the Own Voices reviews on this book are so absolutely critical and important, and I loved the audiobook for this as well. Question number 6 is Nnedi Okorafor. A disabled character embarks on a journey, or a book by a disabled Black author. For this, I have selected Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I have not read this yet, but I am dying to. This is an adult romance book about a woman who is living with chronic illness. She's also a major computer geek and does not have much success in her love life. And so she has constructed this Get a Life list, which includes moving out of her family's mansion, getting a motorcycle, and falling in love. So this is a book about her going on a journey to claim her own life and to carve out her own sense of self. And I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. Question number 7 is Megan Giddings, a Black character who moves to a new town with an old secret. For this book, I have decided to select none other than The Ancient Nine. This is another book from my TBR. I am planning on reading it this month or early next month. This is a book about a young Black man who was raised in Chicago by his mother, and he gets accepted into Harvard. This is told through his perspective, as well as the perspective of a white kid who has been raised and prepped to attend Harvard. And both of these young men find themselves ensnared into secret societies and murderous mysteries that occur in this classic institution. I love that this is written by a Black man who has come from an Ivy League school, and he is a doctor currently and has special insight onto secret societies on these campuses. And I'm just really freaking excited about this. Question number 8 is called Victor LaValle, a supernatural or paranormal horror. There were so many books that I could choose for this prompt, but I decided to go with Slay Stories of Vampire Noir. This is a book that it is not yet on Goodreads. I got this from Amazon, and this is from a small Black-owned publishing house, and it is stories about vampirism intersecting with Black protagonist.
And it is awesome.
The first part of the book is separated into United States and UK stories. The next part is stories from the continent of Africa. And then part 3 is the future. And I really loved this book. I can highly recommend it. It has vampire slayers. It has queer protagonists, trans protagonists. It involves mythology and horror and so many different settings and backgrounds, and it is really enjoyable. And finally, question number 9 is Rachel Housel, a book that is taking place on vacation, sabbatical, or a decadent setting. For this, I am going to select Pasadena by Sherry Smith. This is a book that is set in the land of suns and roses. This is set in California and is about a girl named Jude who finds her friend dead in her swimming pool, and it is called a suicide, but Jude knows that it is murder and that somebody is going to pay. This is a book by a Black author. I'm not sure if the protagonist is Black, but I love that this is set in California, which is definitely a decadent setting for me, and the setting seems to play a big role in the story. I feel like even the cover is really emphasizing like the palm trees. For those of you who live in California and really don't feel that it's a decadent setting, I highly encourage you to pick up the Strivers' Row quote spy. This is a book that is set in the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s, and it is phenomenal. It is about a young college graduate, a young Black man who was approached by the FBI to spy on W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey's movements, and he agrees, but he's actually spying for W.E.B. Du Bois on the FBI. So he's a double agent. It's very good. There's lots of glamorous settings. There's so much social commentary. There's so much history. And I love the centering of dicties during this period. It was amazing. That is gonna do it for this tag. I will leave all of the information, the questions down below so that you can do this tag. Remember, you can do it at any point in time. It does not have to be during the month of February. In fact, I even encourage you to do this tag outside of February because it's so important to be accountable for reading Black diasporic books, not just in the month of February. Don't forget to put your email addresses down below if you want to enter my Book of the Month giveaway. Thank you again to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and good luck to all of y'all who are entering. If you want more content from me, follow me on my Instagram, but all of my social media links are gonna be in the description box below. Stay safe, wear a mask, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.